Happy Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Morning Jocks here on Jocks. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you. Day 2 of SEC Media Days down here in Atlanta, Georgia. And today is one of the big ones, Damian, because back-to-back days. We have Auburn Day today, Alabama Day tomorrow, so the fun really going to kick off later on today. Day 1, we'll get into some of the takeaways from day 1, even though our very own Greg McElroy, whether he intended to or not, kind of stole the show a little bit yesterday.
Oh, boy.
And I know that y'all had a lot of fun with that on Mac and Cube yesterday, Damian. We had him back on three-man front to kind of clear the air about some of those comments, and it just felt like everywhere you went, listening to because the way that everything's set up here, if you've never seen it before, all of us are right next to each other, and so you can very clearly hear what the other shows are talking about, and that was far and away, Damian, the talk of the show or the talk of the town yesterday was Greg McElroy's comments about Coach Saban and a potential return to coaching.
And the funny thing is watching it in real time. Like, watching all of this happen, because, of course, you got boots on the ground, so it's there. So I can imagine how it is circulating. But for us back here, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Within 21 minutes of day 1 of SEC Media Days, everything is trending in the wrong direction. We're talking about a coach that ain't coaching no more, and that absolutely was an absolute whirlwind. But we had a lot of fun with it because, we laughed about it just internally, but for the most part, it's like, okay, well, it kind of was an indirect other storyline to come out of SEC Media Days, and that's just the first day.
You're absolutely spot on with that. And to clarify for anybody, so if anybody missed it yesterday, when y'all had Paul Feinbaum on McElroy and Kublick in the morning, Damian, Greg had, said that he had heard from somebody that would be in the know that there's a possibility that Coach Saban would return to coaching. He didn't say whether that'd be in college, the NFL, the Birmingham Stallions, whatever. He didn't clarify. He just said that there might be a return to coaching. And then he came back and kind of clarified and said, no, I don't actually think that he's going to return. Because, everybody started immediately, where would he end up going? Or, these would be the 5 best schools for Nick Saban to come back to. And it's like, that's not the direction that that was supposed to go. And, Paul shut it down very quickly. The only person I think that really had fun with it and kind of tried to turn it into something yesterday was actually Lane Kiffin.
Right.
Because he was the one that said, oh, yeah, I bet he'll definitely come back to coaching. And everyone else was like, no, that's not happening. No. And Lane, of course, Lane being Lane, had to go out there and get his little piece in about Nick Saban. But he probably wants Nick to come back just so he can try to beat him. For once before his career is over. But that was certainly the talk of the town yesterday, so we will see what dominates the conversation today because, as I said, the Auburn Tigers will be here in Atlanta today. So quickly, your schedule, your 4 coaches, and I will just say this. I know everyone has their favorite team, and especially for us, a lot of people are going to tune in for Alabama and Auburn Day, but I think from top to bottom today is by far the best day that we're going to have here at SEC Media Days. So we're going to get it started off 9:25 Central Time for y'all. Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs are going to be here. Then at 11:15 a.m., you're going to have Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Then at 12:30, you're going to have Damian's favorite, Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers.
Let's go.
And wrapping up the day at 2:15, you're going to get Steve Sarkisian and the Texas contingent there. So pretty stacked day top to bottom, Damian. Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, and Texas. Hard to beat that for sure.
Yeah, because you think about how all 4 coaches and all 4 teams have new quarterbacks. Like, they're going into this season completely new with the person behind under center. And, of course, I want to hear from Hugh Freeze and just, he's going to have questions about the recruit. He's going to come up with the golfing thing. And I just wonder how he navigates it all because I do think that Hugh Freeze, we know him. Like, he can get a little long-winded. He can talk about it. But I think as long as he's putting forth some sort of positive momentum because of everything that's happened so far this summer, I think he can kind of do a little bit of damage control.
So tell me what you think about this because I was talking about this with some people last night, after media days and everything. We were all just kind of hanging out. And here's my thought, all right, for Hugh Freeze. Tell me what you think. All right, so you're Hugh Freeze. You go out to the podium, you address the media, and at the very end, this is what you say. You go, hey guys, excited to answer some questions for y'all, but if you don't mind, can you hold it to 3 or 4 because I got a quick tea time to make in about 30 minutes. And then that would break the ice.
Yes.
It would essentially, in my opinion, that would kind of set the tone of, okay, and maybe we just kind of need to leave that alone because he's treating it like a joke, so maybe we all need to treat it like the rest of a joke. But I don't know. I feel like something like that, a witty comment, maybe he wears golf shoes up to the podium, just something, a subtle thing to kind of just clear the air and let everyone know, hey, I'm whatever. I know you're going to make jokes, I know you're going to ask questions, but this is really a non-story, which we have pretty much said since the beginning. It's talking season. This is what happens when you've had back-to-back seasons that maybe weren't up to snuff, and, stuff like this comes out. So we went through the same thing last year with Kalen DeBoer and the ice cream trucks at practice and just things that really don't matter, but when you're not winning in your fan base's eyes, that's the kind of stuff that's going to crop up. So be very interesting to see hear from Hugh Freeze, and get some of his thoughts. Of course, Keldrick Falk, Connor Liu, and Jackson Arnold are going to be the 3 Tigers that are represented here in Atlanta today as well. So going to be very excited, especially for Jackson Arnold, because we just had very limited opportunities, Damian, to hear from him since he went over to the Plains. And just now, you've gotten a chance to kind of build up that chemistry with the receivers. You've gotten a chance to get more comfortable with the playbook. How does he feel about the upcoming season? I know a lot of people are going to be very, very excited to hear from him, but I am curious to see if anybody here will be more popular than Diego Pavia was yesterday.
Oh,
because
boy.
That was, I'm not kidding you, the most attention that anybody got here yesterday, besides maybe Greg, was Diego Pavia.
Yeah, and he had some clips. He had some things to say. Like, the one thing about Diego Pavia, and of course, you got a chance to see him in person. Like, the confidence, it just oozes off of him. Even just like the way that he carries himself. If there's anybody that believes in yourself, it's Diego Pavia. Like, if there's somebody that believes in themselves 110% all the way through, it's Diego Pavia. And it's so funny because Clark Lee, we had him on Mac and Cube, and he kind of talked about Diego. He's like, he's a confident guy. We're not trying to make him essentially like Johnny Manziel. We're not exactly trying to put all the work on him. We have to get better as develop the players around him to elevate their game, and that's what's going to make Vanderbilt better. Now, I do think just their identities, so to say, per se, is completely different. Because Clark Lee, he seems very analytical. Like, he's kind of this is how it's going to be done. Let's go about this way, my way. But Diego Pavia is the exact opposite of, you give me the ball, I got you, big dog. And there's a lot of it's just unique. It's a unique relationship, but I do think that for as much, at least in the past few years, really their entire existence, you kind of, like, oh, yeah, go ahead, Vanderbilt, appreciate y'all being here. Well, now Vanderbilt's got something to say. Like, they kind of walk around with a little bit more confidence, and it kind of raises some question marks of, really and truly, how good can that Vanderbilt Commodore team be in 2025?
Well, he came back to win a national championship, Damian, so that's the
Well, let's be reasonable.
Yeah.
Let's
yeah.
be reasonable.
Yeah, maybe love the confidence.
I do.
I'll just leave it at that. I respect the confidence.
Who's taller, me or Diego Pavia?
Oh, Pavia's probably got you a little bit.
A little
but
bit.
Not by much.
So if me, him, Bryce Young, and Kyler Murray, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
Thank
That's
you.
fair.
Thank you.
I would say that's fair. Yeah, we agreed. Is like he's definitely bigger than Kyler Murray, but he's also just thicker. Like he's just got a bigger build than Pee Wee or Kyler Murray, as we'll call him. But yeah, no, I mean he's. I don't know. I mean, look, I am definitely not in nearly as good a shape as any of the players that are going to come and walk through here. But he's one of the guys you kind of look at and you go, oh. You're not that big. Okay. I mean, not that he's, but it's like, okay. I'm not like absolutely blown away. Like now, granted, when Lenora Sellers walked around, you're like, oh, look how big. That's a little bit of a different conversation there. But going to be an exciting day, too, here at SEC Media Days, live from Atlanta, Georgia, here on JOX. Can't wait to bring you another great day of coverage. Of course, it is Auburn Tigers Day. 9:25 this morning. Kirby Smart's going to start us off. Then Hugh Freeze is going to go at 11:15. 12:30, Josh Heupel. 2:15, Steve Sarkisian in Texas. So going to be a really, really, really exciting day here on in Atlanta, Georgia for SEC Media Days. So want to take some time, kind of hit on what are the big takeaways we had from yesterday. What did we learn from Commissioner Sankey? What did we learn from the likes of Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin, Shane Beamer, Clark Lee, some of those guys that were here yesterday? And, we'll dive into that. We also had the Home Run Derby going on last night, the All-Star Game, of course, coming up tonight right here in Atlanta. So a lot for us to get to. A busy day, too, at SEC Media Days here on JOX. $7:15. Welcome back in. It's 6:15. It's 7:15 Atlanta time. 6:15 back there in Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome back into Morning JOX. Conrad and Damien here with you until 7 o'clock when we hand you off to McElroy and Kublick in the morning. Day 2 of Media Days here. Of course, Auburn Day. If you're just now joining us, going to be excited to hear from Hugh Freeze, Jackson Arnold, Keldrick Falk, and Connor Liu, as they will be the ones representing the Auburn Tigers here in Atlanta. But we had an eventful day 1 yesterday. I'll be honest with you, not the most eventful day of SEC Media Days that we've ever had. Greg McElroy, of course, kind of stealing the show for us here on JOX yesterday with his comments about Nick Saban. But you did get to hear from the commissioner, Greg Sankey. You got to hear from Brian Kelly. I thought it was very interesting. You got to hear from Brian Kelly. They are really, really putting an emphasis on that season opening game against Clemson and how important that is. They said, or Brian Kelly said, that they've actually started putting the Clemson logo on some of their workout equipment, as well as putting 1-0 up around the locker room is kind of their motivation, that their goal is to start the season 1-0, and I think we all know how big of a win that certainly would be over Clemson for LSU. For me, Damien, I thought for Shane Beamer, it was more just, and this is what you would expect, right? It was embracing the expectations, understanding that, okay, you're going to have a little bit of a target on your back now, at least compared to years prior. But they seem to be embracing that. It seems to be very, very confident. I heard one of the reporters ask him, about all the people essentially trying to poach Lenore Sellers away. And, his response was, well, why would you want to leave South Carolina? And I think that's something that we can certainly you can kind of shake your head in agreement with a lot more now than you could have a year ago. So very interesting to hear from him. And then Lane Kiffin, of course, being Lane Kiffin, he was the only one that took the Saban thing and ran with it. Oh, yeah, he's going to come back to coaching. But that's just Lane Kiffin, Damien. We wouldn't expect anything less from him. But very cool to hear him. He actually got very personal when he was at the podium, talking a lot about his family and how much it meant to him to have I guess his entire family down there in Oxford now and get to go through this experience together. So very sentimental in some ways. I don't know if y'all were able to catch this because I know there's a lot going on. But so yesterday, Lane Kiffin's at the podium. He's addressing the media, and there's I guess it's a terrace would be the best way to describe it. But so there's like this little alcove kind of thing up there on the second floor of the Hall of Fame where we are broadcasting from, and then the coaches are broadcasting one floor below us. And this guy's doing a stand-up for television in the middle of Lane Kiffin addressing the media, and all you could hear was the guy up there doing his news hit the entire time that Lane Kiffin was at the podium talking. And so it was just like, you could tell it was just like, all right, we're just going to roll with the punches here. So, certainly an interesting day 1 yesterday here at Media Days. And maybe the most interesting thing, Damien, actually was how it capped off, for me at least, because so I got to go to dinner last night, had a really nice dinner, come home or come back to the hotel, and as we're walking back through the hotel going up to our room, you see Hugh Freeze, and this was, 10 o'clock last night, something like that, Eastern. And so we're walking through the hotel, and as we're walking, Hugh Freeze and some of his handlers, some of the Auburn people are walking through the hotel at the same time. It's like, okay, y'all are getting ready for your appearance on Tuesday. So I ended up getting here. I went up to the room, changed some clothes, and then went back down to the hotel. There's like a sports bar in the hotel, and so that's where a bunch of us were hanging out watching the Home Run Derby last night, or the end of it at least. And I'm just walking down to the sports bar from my hotel room, and who would I happen to come across? None other than Hugh Freeze. But this time it was just him by himself, and so it was very cool. Got to, say, hey, Coach, I'm Conrad with so-and-so, nice to meet you, we're, excited to hear from you tomorrow. And he couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have, nice to meet you, appreciate you, coming out here and letting people hear about our program, and we're, really excited for the season. So it was just kind of a cool moment of, just casually walking down the hallway of the hotel, talking it up with Hugh Freeze. And so it was very cool to see, and I will give the coach his credit. He went down, and he spent a decent amount of time with other media members, just talking to them, answering questions, just being a normal guy, talking football. And I thought that was really cool to see, because I think we all know, the pressure he's under, and, the narrative that's kind of been out there for the last few weeks, all the golf stuff, all of that. And so for him to, almost seemingly like kind of get out in front of it and say, hey, let me just go talk to these people, break bread with them, and show them, hey, yeah, I'm just a normal guy talking football, and I happen to be the coach at Auburn. So I have to give Hugh Freeze major kudos for what he did there last night.
Did you give him a War Eagle?
Really cool. No, I did not.
Oh.
I also did not tell him, like where I went to school or anything like that.
You kept it professional.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to sour the moment, Damien. I thought
I understand.
I thought, I was like, I don't want this guy to not like me that quickly. So, but no, it was very cool. And again, that's just one of the things that's, so interesting about being here at Media Days, is you just never know who you're going to run across, even, later at night when you're just walking through the hotel, going to the lobby, going to get a drink, whatever. And there you go. You end up getting to talk to Hugh Freeze for a few minutes. So very cool there yesterday, and a lot that we're excited to hear from him today. And we will get into that in a little bit. What are our expectations, not only for Auburn this season, but what are our expectations this week? And I know a lot of you probably have questions or things that you would like to hear from Hugh Freeze and the players today, and we'd love to hear that from you at 205-834-9450. That'll get you on the courtesy GMC text line with any of your questions, thoughts on SEC Media Days so far. But, Damien, we knew going into the event, right, the big topics were going to be the stuff that Greg Sankey handles, right? Are we going to get that ninth conference game? What are we doing with college football playoff expansion? And I think I really liked this sentiment of what Greg Sankey said. So this is cut one, Damien. This is Greg Sankey talking about the state of college football and how it's not quite broken like some people think it is. So there you have Greg Sankey yesterday talking, and college football isn't broken, but it is under some stress, and I think we would all agree with that. But the idea that, the future isn't still bright, there isn't hope on the horizon that this is going to continue, at least in the college football world, at a very high level for a long time. Maybe that gives you a little bit of reassurance there. But unfortunately, about the other, the main two topics there, not a whole lot, I guess, to go off of. Greg saying he kind of took a little bit of shot at the Big 12, and Brett Yormark saying he's doubling down on the 5-11 format, and Greg Sankey saying, oh, well, that's a gambling term, and I feel like you only double down when you have the best hand, and I feel like we have the best hand. So kind of a little bit of a shot there at them. But I will say, and I don't know if you noticed this too, Damien, but we can hear Greg Sankey talking about the college football playoff and the potential expansion of it. But one of the things that I kind of noticed hearing from him is and when he was answering questions from the media too, was, everybody is just assuming, all right, so what's going to happen when we get to the 16-team format? And he was very quick to kind of remind you, hey, we don't have to go to 16. We could technically stay at 12. We've just all assumed that we're going to expand to 16 as Landrum Roberts stares at me after his nice workout this morning. But let's hear what Greg Sankey had to say about the possibility of college football playoff expansion.
Very clearly in that memorandum of understanding is granted to the combination of the SEC and Big Ten. Ultimately, we have to use that authority with great wisdom and discretion. But unless people want to tear it up, we're going to have 5+7, 5+9, 5+11. As I understand, doubling down, so that was one of the phrases last week. That's part of the gambling experience, as I understand. And you always want to have a really good set of cards. You want to have a good hand to play, right? And I think we have the best hand to play. So we're going to operate consistent with the MOU. There's an allocation of those 5 spots. And I guess we'll continue to debate whether expansion beyond 12 is appropriate for the college football playoff.
So that was Commissioner Greg Sankey yesterday on college football playoff expansion. And again, that was kind of my big takeaway was, you heard him say it there, 5-7, 5-9, 5-11. I guess it's maybe it's not as set in stone as we think, or maybe this is him just, doing commissioner speak that, maybe 16 isn't as guaranteed as we think for 2026 and beyond. But just some interesting thoughts there, Damian. But I guess we're probably not all that surprised that I don't think any of us were expecting Greg Sankey to get up to the podium yesterday and go, guess what? We're going to 9 conference games. And you know what? We're going to 16 playoff teams, too, and we're doing the just having this big moment of announcing to the world what we were going to do. I don't think anybody expected that, but seems like we still have a little bit of ways to go in those discussions, Damian.
Yeah, and Commissioner Sankey is very cerebral with his approach. Like, he doesn't need to go scorched earth. He knows he has the best product when it comes to college football, really college athletics as a whole, but primarily just in football. And, the SEC for the longest of times has really carried the mantle. Like, they've stood the test of time when it comes to, you can look at the national championships, you can look at recruiting. Like, people want to go to the SEC. And I think that the biggest question mark when it comes to college football playoff expansion, it's the automatic bid thing. Like, I think, the model is fine. It's just, are we ever going to get to a point where we have the best teams in there? No matter what conference that they come from, it's all about getting the best teams to compete and win for a chance to win a national title. So I don't necessarily think it's wrong to go to 16, but are we getting the best 16? It's the same way with 12. Even, we go back to last year and we kind of look at the landscape of it all. It's, in hindsight, we could say that, when you look at the Boise States of the world, when you look, granted, again, you got Arizona State who kind of was under the radar the entire season. Then they mess around and win, make it to the college football playoff and put up a great performance. But I think it's difficult to have any sort of transparency, which we've been begging for with the committee anyway, of just trying to get the best teams in. That's all. The number really doesn't matter to me, to sort of say, but I think getting the best teams in there is the biggest question mark that we have.
And yes, I agree with that. And to that point, I think we've talked about this in the past on this show, but the underlying issue with all of it is kind of what you were saying, Damien. It's the transparency, right? Because if you are the SEC or the Big Ten and you have the confidence that, okay, I understand how the playoff committee is going to do their rankings every year, and I know that it's going to heavily favor strength of schedule and the people that play in the more difficult conferences. Well, that's when you get the ball rolling on, okay, let's add that 9th conference game because it's not going to hurt you, whereas right now that's the concern, right? It's not we just don't want to play 9 conference games. It's what value is that going to bring us when it comes to getting as many teams in the playoff as possible? Because if they don't value strength of schedule, then why would we add a 9th game against an SEC team as opposed to adding another game against, a cupcake or something somewhere along the way? And then conversely, right, as we've heard from the Big Ten, all right, if the SEC adds that 9th conference game, well, then they're happy to go with the 5-11 format or whatever format the SEC does. They just want the SEC to play the same number of conference games as the Big Ten before they're willing to make an agreement on the playoffs. So, see, it all goes in conjunction, and it's like a domino effect almost, right? Like, it feels like when one of those things gets resolved, then the other things are going to sort of take care of themselves. So it's going to be fascinating to see as obviously we'll continue to hear from coaches and get their thoughts on what the future should be or what format they want. Do they want that 9th conference game? Brian Kelly's been very vocal about, wanting to play other conferences and being happy with playing 9 conference games and things like that. So we will see if other coaches today echo some of those sentiments, because quickly, if you're just now joining us, your schedule for today in Atlanta, you're going to have Kirby Smart at 9:25. He'll kick things off today from the podium. Then Hugh Freeze is going to go at 11:15. Josh Heupel will be at 12:30, and then Steve Sarkisian will wrap us up today at 2:15. So a jam-packed day, definitely the most jam-packed day in Atlanta this week here for SEC Media Days. So excited to be out here. Appreciate all of you making Morning JOX a part of your morning each and every day as we continue our live coverage next here on JOX. Welcome back into Morning JOX. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you until the 7 o'clock hour when we hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning. I'm here live in Atlanta at SEC Media Days. Day 2 coming up here in just a couple of hours. You already have some people filing in, a couple of early morning radio shows, a couple early risers like us, Damian, and people getting set up for day 2, but very excited because today is Auburn Day. So, of course, you're going to get to hear from Hugh Freeze as well as Keldrick Falk, Connor Liu, and Jackson Arnold. Those are the 3 players that will be here representing the Auburn program, and it's going to be a jam-packed day. If you're just now joining us, here is your refresher. So you're going to have Kirby Smart up first, 9:25 Central Time. Hugh Freeze is going to follow that at 11:15. Josh Heupel is going to go at 12:30, and Steve Sarkisian at 2:15. So Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, and Texas are all going to get underway today. So it should be an absolutely fantastic day. And want to get a little bit into some of our expectations in just a minute for not only those teams this fall, but also what we hope to learn from them this week and answer some of your questions that y'all have sent into the text line as well at 205-834-9450. But I did want to spend a minute on this, Damian. Did you watch the Home Run Derby last night?
I probably watched about 30 minutes. I didn't really dive too much into it.
So you watched like 10% of it.
Yeah.
Because that was the sentiment, and I feel like this happens every year, but we all complain, oh, it's not as good as it used to be, and we all watch it anyways, and oh, it's not like when I was a kid, and I'm right there with it too. But it's just funny that we do that every single year, and so we're sitting there watching it last night, and everyone's like, man, this is longer than a baseball game is now, because it felt like it went on forever. But if you missed it last night, Cal Raleigh of the Mariners, he wins the Home Run Derby. He beats Junior Caminero of the Tampa Bay Rays. He hits 18 home runs in the final round, Raleigh does, to get the win. He is the first catcher to ever win a home run derby, so that was a very cool moment for him. And, of course, these are the great stories you get at the home run derby, right? So his dad's pitching to him, and then his younger brother is catching. So you have dad, brother, and brother as the 3 guys there yesterday getting to take home that crown. So very cool moment for Cal Raleigh and his family. Very cool moment. I don't know if you saw this maybe on social media later, Damian, but the kid that robbed a home run during the home run derby, that kid, when he goes back to school, that kid is going to be the most popular kid in school. But that was such a cool moment, and it was cool because, they still counted it for, I think it was Caminero that hit that one, but they still counted it for him. But the kid,
it's the athleticism, man.
It was,
it was good. It was legit.
It was impressive. Yeah, this is a major, I get, like, it was impressive, right? Like, that's a major league home run, and a kid's out there robbing a home run. So that was very, very cool. But Cal Raleigh almost didn't get a chance to win because if you missed it, and I know this rubbed people the wrong way. So he was in a tie after the first round with Brent Rooker, and so they go to the tiebreaker, and it's based on distance. And Cal Raleigh, no joke, he had hit a home run 1 inch further than Brent Rooker, and that's why he was able to move on to the second round and ultimately win. So just by the skin of his teeth there, but he has been the best power hitter in baseball this year. When you look at who has the most home runs, he is at the top there, so no surprise that he gets the win last night in the home run derby, gets to take home a cool $1 million. Matt Olson of the Braves, he was eliminated in the first round, had a good showing, had 15 bombs, but unfortunately wasn't enough to move on. And my guy last night, Jazz Chisholm, he had 3, and he got booed. So that was it gave me flashbacks to I don't know if you remember this a long time ago, but Brandon Inge at the home run derby when he hit 0, and it was you just felt so bad for him, and whatever it is what it is. Not an ideal performance or representation for the team that I root for, but it is what it is.
I got a question. The reason why I actually miss the old school home run derby. Like, I'm cool with the marathon. Now, will it take 5 hours? So be it. But I miss the old days where 10 outs, that's all you got. Just swing for the fences. And I don't know. Like, I don't like the format, but it's also, I know people's attention spans aren't as long as they used to be, so it's kind of, it seems like a long time. Even if you just shorten or make the contestant pool a little bit smaller. But I miss the whole, it might take 5 hours, but I would much rather watch that than what we're starting to get. I don't know. I don't know how you can doctor up the home run derby.
Yeah, it's tough. The same thing as like the dunk competition, right? It's just not what it is anymore, and it's still exciting, but you also get to a point where you're like, man, for us, I know a lot of our listeners even more so. It's like, man, I've been watching this for over 20 years now. Like, it's still exciting. I'm still going to watch it every year. But, you just kind of get used to things after a while. And like you said, you don't have some of those crazy moments like, Josh Hamilton at the old Yankee Stadium.
Right.
Where guys just absolutely go on a tear. So It is what it is, though. But tonight you'll have the All-Star game. That's going to get going at 7 o'clock Central Time here from Truist. So you're going to have Tariq Skubal and Paul Skeens are going to get the starts tonight for the American League and National League, respectively. They're in the All-Star game, so it should be a big time here in Atlanta as Beyonce moves out of town, and now we still have the All-Star game stuff going on. So it is quite busy here. But we are live at SEC Media Days here in Atlanta, Georgia. Day 2 coming up for us, Damian. So yesterday, again, kind of nothing crazy really coming out. I mean, Greg's comments about Nick Saban, again, kind of stealing the show for a lot of things yesterday. But today's should be a fantastic day. Should have a lot of great content. And you have Georgia, Texas, Auburn, and Tennessee. So besides, let me ask you, I know you're a big Tennessee guy. What do you want to hear from Tennessee and Josh Heupel this year? Because it's been a very interesting offseason for them, obviously, with Nico and that whole situation.
Really and truly, it's, I guess, understanding what the expectations are. Because I do think, with everything that happened last year, you have one of the better defenses that you've had under Josh Heupel. And you ran across an Ohio State team that was, they were locked and loaded, ready for you. Like, they were on a mission to win the national championship game, and you just so happened to be that first one. But now with all the things going through the offseason, how much faith do you have in Joey Aguilar getting in a little bit later? If he's your guy, you're rocking with him. Do you have the utmost confidence in him? And I think that with all the pieces that have left, they're either transferred or gone to the NFL draft and things, how confident does Josh Heupel really portray his team? Like, does he really feel like, I got a pretty decent squad? Because I think that everybody, even me included, I think it's going to be a little bit of a drop-off from what we saw last season. And last season, you end up playing in the college football playoff. Like, you made it to, you were one of the 12. But I think that how can you convey or kind of give some sort of motivation of, hey, we're actually trending in the right direction? Like, how much can you – I think he's going to have to do a little bit more of the salesman side of things today, because I think a lot of people are kind of on the fence about Tennessee of, well, they're not going to be – great like they were last year, but I also, at least for me, I don't think it's going to be a complete drop-off, but it will be a little bit of a quote-unquote down year for them heading into the fall.
Yeah, and if you're Heupel, right, this is where you can, kind of show your coaching chops a little bit, right, of, hey, yeah, we had all this turnover, this turmoil with our quarterback situation, but guess what? I'm a pretty darn football coach, and I'm going to be able to find a way to make it work with the guys that I have. And if Tennessee's a team that, if they go, let's say they win 9 games this year, right? Maybe you're not making the playoff again, but if you win 9 games with this team and what you had to go through this offseason, I think there's a lot of people that would look at Josh Heupel in a much higher regard. Not saying that people don't really look at him in a high regard, but you know what I'm saying. Like, that it would only continue to grow if you have that kind of season and people start looking at you as, truly one of the top coaches in all of college football. So big expectations for Tennessee. We've got Georgia and Texas rolling in as well. I know Texas, I have a feeling that Arch Manning will probably break Diego Pavi's record yesterday in terms of the most media people trying to get a taste of you, whether it's a picture, a video, an interview question, whatever. I think Arch Manning will certainly steal the day. And maybe even the week, just in terms of the amount of press that he's going to get. But, Texas coming in as the favorite, everyone views them in that light. Do they walk in like they kind of own the place like we saw last year? Or, is there maybe kind of a different feel to Steve Sarkisian now that this is his second year in the SEC? And then for Georgia, right, you're in your own backyard getting to come. And I feel like almost a little underrated just in the sense of so much love's been on Texas. Now I feel like Alabama's starting to pick up a lot of attention as well. And Georgia's just kind of lingering there. We've talked about how great Alabama's recruiting's been, and then you look at what Georgia's doing, and you're like, oh, my gosh. So it's going to be very interesting to hear from Kirby and some of his players today, just because this is a year where, a lot of people are picking a Texas team to win the SEC, and he can kind of look and go, well, I saw how that played out twice last year, so how about you give us a look as well?
Yep. And it's almost like people forget, Georgia won the SEC last year. They are the defending SEC champions. And I think with the loss to Carson Beck, and you go and watch this Georgia team last year, there towards the end, they just kind of, not necessarily sputtered, but a lot of unfortunate events happened, because you look at that receiver room, they were the biggest liability for you. And something that we went back in the regular season, we saw the inconsistencies there with, the loss to Ole Miss. Like, how much of that loss to Ole Miss kind of like gave people a different look at how Georgia, they're not as quote-unquote intimidating as they used to be. They're not – have they lost a little bit of the edge?
We just hadn't seen anybody beat them like that except maybe Alabama.
Right, where they lined up and Ole Miss welcomed the fist fight.
Yep.
And then you go and beat Texas on the road and for the SEC championship with your starting quarterback going out. So now enter in Gunnar Stockton, and what does it look like with him under center? Like, now what does it look like? You went in and got some pieces out of the portal offensively, and I think defense is still a question mark where it's – they got a few times last year. So how much does Kirby either, kind of downplay whatever happened last year, or does he kind of look forward and say – because, Kirby kind of has that reverse psychology model of, oh, nobody's picking us to win the SEC, so I guess we got to go out there and do it. Like, nobody believes in you. And now with Texas getting all this love, he can look at his players and say, hey, well, y'all already beaten them. So Sark and those guys are just now getting into this party, but we've been there. Like, we are the defending SEC champions, so let's go out there and prove it.
Yeah, we will certainly see. So going to be a big day, too, here at Media Days. We also have the Auburn Tigers. So, of course, we're going to tell you maybe some of what are our bigger questions that we have for Auburn this year that hopefully we can hear from Hugh Freeze and the players today. We'll take a little deep dive into Auburn as well as read your text, respond to those, 205-834-9450. You're listening to the Tuesday edition of Morning JOX. $7:49. Welcome back into Morning JOX. Conrad and Damian here with you live from SEC Media Days Day 2 here in Atlanta, Georgia. McElroy and Kubik in the morning coming up here in just a few minutes. We'll see what hot takes Greg has today to carry the day for us, because he certainly helped us out a little bit here yesterday. But quickly, if you're just now joining us, a reminder of what you have coming up today. You have Kirby Smart at 9:25 Central Time. He'll kick us off at the podium. Then Hugh Freeze, he's going to go at 11:15. Josh Heupel at 12:30. And Steve Sarkisian at 2:15. So those are your four coaches that you will hear from today. And so quickly, before we get to some of these texts, Damian, what would you say that your biggest question for Auburn is in terms of right now today? And if you could ask Hugh Freeze one question, what would it be? Because I think I would have to go with, what is the difference in having a guy like Jackson Arnold in terms of the confidence that you have as a play caller? Because I think we would all agree that, the play calling left something to be desired last year. And so do you feel like you're in a more comfortable spot now, or you have guys on your roster that allow you to kind of be the Hugh Freeze that we expected to see all along on the offensive side of the ball? So where would you go? What's your big question that you would have for Auburn?
Yeah, mine would be on the offensive side of the ball too. Mine would actually be at the running back position. Kind of what is the expectation of the running back room? What do you kind of see? Who is there going to be a Damari Alston or a Jeremiah Cobb that separates themselves as being the number one guy, or is it going to be running back by committee? Because last year you left a lot to be desired out of Jarquez Hunter. I feel like there was a lot of carries that he missed in the season last year because you only gave it to him 20 times in 2 games. In both games, he had over 150 yards, and one he had over 200. So it's, okay, well, how is this offense going to look now when your star was in the running back room last year, but now what is it going to look like for 2025?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions that I think we all have about Auburn, and it could go a lot of different directions, but going to be very excited to hear from Hugh Freeze and some of that contingency today. And again, if you missed it earlier in the show, I have to put it on the record. I have to give credit to Hugh Freeze, because last night, being able to walk through the hotel, cross by him in the hallway, stop him for a second, say hey, talk to him for a second, and then see him go around and talk to other media members here at the hotel last night. I thought that was really cool for him to get out and do that and just kind of rub elbows with the media and just talk some football. So I really wanted to give him props for that.
So you're a Hugh Freeze guy, that's what you're saying.
I'm not saying that at all, but I thought it was a very cool thing for him to do, and I wanted to give him his props for that, Damian. That's all.
I got you. But you couldn't say War Eagle to him. It's wild.
All right, so the text line, 205-834-9450. That'll get you on the courtesy GMC text line. Damian's kind of cutting out. He's saying, like, curse words or something on the radio. I don't know what that was. that he just said out of his mouth. But let's go to Jason. He says, let's not forget that Dylan Sampson was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year last year, not Nico. Tennessee's looking at a tough year, but not because of the quarterback that can't hit the long ball. And I know you were a big Dylan Sampson guy last year, Damian, and that certainly hurts them for sure.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Ever since Josh Heupel has been in the SEC, he's been in the top 2 or 3 when it comes to rushing, year after year.
Yep.
So I think a lot of it has to do with mostly the offensive line. Not to say, no disrespect to Dylan Sampson, because he was absolutely phenomenal. But it's kind of the same thing I asked about Hugh Freeze. I could see Tennessee being a running back by committee if nobody really separates. But what level? Like, what level are we going to get? Because collectively, could they do what Dylan Sampson did by himself? But also, we have no idea what their weapons look like, because a lot of these guys haven't really played a lot. So who kind of takes that mantle at the running back position, along with, just if their offensive line is going to be just as good as they were last year?
And to your point, if you're confident in Tennessee, like you said, you've been able to run the ball better, but also defensively, you had made some big strides here over the last couple of years. And that's kind of what I look to is, man, now that you have built that foundation, that does give me confidence that, hey, maybe if this quarterback, it takes a little while to get him into a rhythm or something, you're still going to be good enough running the football and on defense to still keep yourself in some games. So, yeah, going to be interesting to see there. Joseph's asked, does this make you guys more confident in Jackson Arnold that he's there at media days? For example, Gunnar Stockton being there for Georgia tells me that he's guaranteed to be the starter, and Kirby is really confident in him. Yeah, I mean, you could certainly look at it that way. I certainly think it means that he's headed in the right direction. Hugh Freeze likes the trajectory that he's on to lead this football program. So, yeah, I mean, I think you could certainly read a little bit into that if you want to.
Yeah, I read a little bit into it, too, because if the guy that is going to be your starting quarterback is there, you rock with him. And you bring him in a situation like this, which is kind of one of the question marks I had about Alabama not bringing Ty Simpson. But it's also he hasn't necessarily, quote-unquote, won the job yet. So why would you want to put him in front of everybody when you don't know if he's going to be your signal caller for sure?
Somebody chimes in, if we're so good in the SEC, why are they needing 5 guaranteed playoff spots? We should get them anyway. Well, because they're not confident that the playoff committee is going to give them to them because what we see this year.
That's right.
That's why they're looking for automatic guarantees, because they're not confident that the playoff committee is going to value strength of schedule. All right, here's the best text of the day, in my opinion. Lewis chimes in. Ice cream trucks don't matter. Weren't you at the Oklahoma game last year where the team decided to start the QB who threw a game-clinching interception and then laid down and let it be a pick six? That's the same mentality of fun is more important than winning, and as a result, we have a single-digit win column for the first time in a long time. If you're going to blame an ice cream truck on the reason that Alabama lost to Oklahoma, I really don't know what to tell you. But right here, Hugh Freeze standing by with McElroy and Kublik in the morning. They are next.